Awesome. Thank you very much. I'd like to get us going here. I understand, just so everybody in the room knows this, we're under some time constraints today. We have another meeting coming in here at 6, which means we need to boogie out at 5:45. I think we'll be able to do that, but I will try and be as quick with things as I can and be reasonable. I'd like to call the meeting of Tuesday, April 15th, 2025 to order. Acting under the provisions of the Code of the Town of Barnstable, Chapter 112-1 through 112-7, the Historical Commission will hold a public hearing on the following applications. The following applications have been determined significant and were referred to the public hearing. This meeting of the Barnstable Historical Commission is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, the chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, to please make their presence known. I see no one looking like they want to be recognized for that. That's great. We ask that during the afternoon's proceedings, cell phones be turned off, and that conversations other than those before the commission take place outside of this room. You can step out, and if you need to close the door, that would be fine too, whichever. When an application is called, please come to the table and sign in here on the sheet, which Michael's using at the moment. All interested parties, abutters, and others should come forward at that time as well, and all those wishing to speak regarding the application must also sign in. First order of business is to take a roll call of attendance. Nancy Shoemaker?
Here.
Cheryl Powell is not here. Jack Kay is not here. Barbara DiBiase
I'm here.
is here. John Richmond
Here.
is here. Robert Frazee is here. That is awesome. The first item on our agenda is Harold Coxall Jr. Trust, 265 Seaview Avenue, Osterville, map 138, parcel 020, built 1890, contributing structure within the National Register District of Wiano. Partial demolition, structure to be lifted for new foundation, 1907 left side addition to be raised and reconstructed as a 3-car garage in new location, gable dormers to be reconstructed, porch fully enclosed, new addition on right hand side, and chimney to be reconstructed. And that's the way the application reads. I know that you have some modifications to that, and we've been doing our homework. I think as this has been evolving collectively along with you. So our first order of business is to open a public hearing, and I would love a motion to do so.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Okay, second. We can't do it all in favor, can we?
You
Oh, we
can, since we're-
All in favor of opening a public hearing?
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome. The public hearing is open. Those wishing to speak on behalf of the owner or the owner, please dive in and welcome. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Chair Frazee and members of the commission. Attorney Michael Schultz for the record on behalf of Harold Cox. With me, Robert Williamson, the architect. So he'll go through the plans. Just a little bit of a background. We did make this filing on March 17th. We have worked with Sarah Korjeff at the Cape Cod Commission. We've gone through a couple of iterations. We had a meeting with Sarah, looked at her comments. Robert has gone through and made those changes. And if I can turn it over to Robert now just to go through those with you. Thank you.
Absolutely, and thanks for everyone. Yes, this has been a very exciting and fun project to work on so far. It's always nice to work on such a beautiful historic property with such prominence, on the coast and in the historic district. Yes, thank you. Will you be clicking through as you go?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Kurt. So, when we looked at this site, we kind of tried to approach it a few different ways in terms of how do we, obviously keep the structure, and enhance it to, provide the use that the owners are looking for at it in terms of a modest expansion and a renovation of the existing condition. And given the unique layout of the home and its age, it has settled quite a bit in terms of its foundation. When you're just walking around the floors, they are all, quite uneven. You could be in one dining room that has a 4-inch difference in a 12-foot span. And then there's also the first floor layout itself, in terms of it just being sort of a series of rooms and having the sort of unfortunate layout, in my opinion, of the what was built as the 1907 servants' quarters on the upper right-hand side, as that being the primary kitchen area, and it's just completely cut off from the main portion of the home, where you have to pass through a pantry to get to it. And then above that section of the home, there is I would, for lack of a better term, a very illegal non-code compliant stair leading to 2 bedrooms. It is, I've seen many old homes and it is not safe.
Not even a rope ladder, huh?
Yeah.
Not even a rope out the window.
Yeah, it's winder treads, very narrow, like it's not something to try to work with. So as we, with Harold and we have just discussed, we kind of just went through different options of how do we do a modest expansion, do a renovation to the property that, will be sufficient for his needs and will satisfy, not only historic, but also we're, mindful of the Conservation Commission coming up as well, and how we approach the site at large. So I guess if you could flip through to the site to some of the just existing photographs, please. Should be in order. So here we just have, just a location map for reference, and looking through the next slide, please. We just go through the existing photographs of the home.
See, it's not advancing at all.
Oh, okay.
Can't just touch the screen and make it flip all the time. I'm teasing.
Bob, I have a hard copy of that upstairs.
Okay.
There we go.
So, so some of the, important and remarkable architectural features of the home are the, sweeping sloped roofs of the main body of the original home, gable dormers with the shed connecting dormer to kind of make that Nantucket dormer, as we call it now. Double hung windows, the walls do go right down to ground level. That is also a feature, but also it's not great in terms of maintenance, as you can see from the photographs of the moss kind of growing up from the ground. Another important architectural feature is how there was a sort of gambrel element on the right-hand side, upper right-hand corner of the main body of the house that, maybe I'm just assuming, but may have inspired the design of the 1907 wing with the gambrel roof structure, and the Riverstone fireplace with the second floor overhang. And then that turns, and the chimney turns into a painted white brick chimney from there. So, and then another architectural feature I thought that was important was the bay window to the right of the fireplace, where that is, not facing the street, but it is visible from the street given the way the house is sited and how much open space there is on the right-hand side. Next slide, please. Looking at the rear of the home, the dominant feature is the long sweeping roof and the arch covered porch. Inside the porch, the low arch and the low openings do obstruct views that would, in our opinion, would like to be opened up a bit, but this is one area that I will get to that we worked with Sarah on, and I feel like her input improved the project, and I'm very happy with what we kind of all came up with together. Next slide, please. This portion of the home is where we're, proposing to rebuild the 1907 barn or barn addition, let's call it, and convert that into a 3-car garage, primarily so that this section of the home can function well for the proposed floor plan, and we think that is a good use for the site overall. And in order to have second floor bedrooms above this space as it's reconstructed, we are connecting that section to the main part of the home, so we don't need 2 stairs going down, and obviously we wouldn't have a stair going from that section right into a garage. So the 1-story portion that you see with a small little shed roof there. That section would also remain, but have a second floor addition that becomes the connector wing. Next slide, please. And looking at the existing first floor plan, getting back to the points that I originally spoke about in terms of the layout and how it's sort of one sort of sitting room after another, and that the kitchen, which is, you know, sort of the heart of a home now, is tucked away off into the corner through doors and through a pantry, and we wanted to solve for this issue. Next slide, please. This diagram just overlays on top of the existing first floor plan to just show which areas are to remain, areas that would be removed in red, and the green hatch is to show we're doing sort of a reconstruction or an infill addition. Next slide, please, for the second floor. One thing I haven't noted yet is the first floor and second floor have approximately, 7'4" to 7'5" ceilings, as the floors vary. And on the first floor, that is something we would are trying to expand, and that's part of by lifting it up. I'll get to that as we get to the sections. Also note on the dormers, this is where the dormer reconstruction or sort of raising the dormer roofs we feel is necessary because we have 6'4" ceilings in the bedroom. And so all of those windows are double hungs and don't even come close to meeting an egress dimension because they're very short. They're about like 3 feet high. And it's 6'4" is well below the minimum code height of 7 feet for a bedroom ceiling. And on the right-hand side, upper right-hand corner, you see the 2 bedrooms being served by that one very narrow, somewhat hazardous stair. Next slide, please. Again, the overlay diagram of which areas would remain and be reconstructed. And also the roof plan. Next slide, please. And we can just skip this one again, just the next one. And this is where I work. Sarah suggested I show the same diagrams to show which areas of the roof are remaining, which are being replicated or enveloped, and which ones would be removed as part of the construction. The dormers being raised up a foot would, as you can see, as you raise up the height of the roof, would then need to extend back to the main slope of the house, so that's where there's a little bit of extension of it. And on the back, we'd be proposing a shed dormer connection in between the 2 rear dormers just to match the front design, and that allows for a little bit of second floor bedroom expansion between those 2 bedrooms. Next slide, please. These existing elevations of the home, just for the context. Next slide, please. They're just having this here. So one thing we did utilize in the beginning of the project, you can go to the sections actually, thank you, is we hired an existing conditions company to scan the home and build an existing conditions model, so that's what we're seeing here. So I wanted, because a lot of my projects, I measure it myself, but given the complexity of the house, the number of angles, and just once I walked in, I just knew the floor was all over. I wanted something accurate because I knew that whatever I wanted to show proposed, if we're going to be replicating a piece, adding a new section, I wanted to be able to copy that geometry to the greatest extent possible.
We gave up requiring hand-drawn architectural drawings quite a
Okay.
few decades ago,
Good.
so just to reassure you.
And I'm showing this here because it is subtle, but I asked them to just to model the floors as the scan shows, and you can really see it even at this scale, especially
You can see the
section
deflections,
1, yeah,
definitely.
and on the porch too, and I covered porch, sitting at a table there, it's got quite the pitch going up.
The covered porch may have been built that way intentionally in
Yeah.
order to drain water, you
Yeah.
know that?
Yeah.
Okay, just saying.
Oh yeah, but just it's pretty significant, but understood indeed. Next slide, please. So here we're moving on to the proposed portion of the presentation, where this is the architectural site plan showing the the full extent of the site in terms of the reconstructed barn addition on the upper right-hand side, the small areas to be removed, and the proposed two-story addition on the left, as well as the pool house on the left-hand side. Next slide, please. Just showing that our intention is to put in a full foundation below for this, but haven't really our unprogrammed space at the moment. Next slide, please. So here we have the first floor proposed design. And it's fun to look at now to see where it's come from the beginning in terms of the iterations we've done. I did outline the original section or footprint of the house in the red dotted line, so it's clear, what's being added, what's remaining. And the idea is to, basically keep the same entry sequence in terms of the covered porch, both the main entry door location, and there's even a secondary door location that is shown where I'm showing that door into the pantry, and just create a nice open floor plan where we have a proper stair, in the foyer entrance, and not, towards the back of the house and leading back towards the street. Give it a little bit more volume towards, in terms of ceiling height, in terms proposed approximately 9'2" ceiling height, and just a slight rearrangement of the spaces in terms of the living room, office, and mudroom, but still keeping the main center load-bearing wall in the middle. That's roughly where the stair is. That's right where the existing chimney is, fireplace. And then the addition is essentially, we're just trying to design it so that it's complementary to the original two sections of the original home. Next slide, please. On the second floor, we've actually only are proposing 6 bedrooms instead of 7, which was the existing condition. They are more generous and have, there's more bathrooms in terms of them being ensuite, but that we weren't planning on doing that. It's just the way sort of the design came out. In the previous design that was originally submitted, between bedrooms 3 and 4 on the lower part of the page, we did have a balcony proposed off the back of that, and through our working with Sarah, came up with this design where it's essentially just removed. But I think that where we ended up on this is a nice final design to be at, in terms of respecting the original architecture and proposing some modifications to make it meet the needs of the owner. Next slide, please. Proposed roof plan. Not too much to talk about here, other than just we're keeping the original, putting a new wood roof on to match the existing, and same thing with the walls. On the proposed elevations, we are just trying to keep the spirit of the main home, but also make sure that the investment that the owner is putting into this property is a wise one in terms of it being, just from a practical nature, by lifting the building up and bringing it out of the earth, and putting a foundation down when cladding that with stone, means that the new shingles you'd be putting on the home are not, just sucking up moisture and growing moss on them. And so in my opinion, the front of the house, the main body is, wouldn't be a great notice of change between what's existing, what's proposed, given that the 3 dormers in the front would only be raised by a foot, and that allows us to have ceiling heights just above 7 feet, and have double hung windows that meet modern codes for egress. On the reconstructed servants' quarters or barn addition from 1907, where we're proposing the 3-car garage, essentially roof lines were, in terms of the gambrel, were copied, and the dormers are rebuilt in kind to align with the new doors. They aren't in the exact location as they were, but the window height, the window sizes are the same. I'm meeting egress by having an egress window on the gable end of that portion. So those windows are effectively the same size as the original there. And then as you move over to the right-hand side where we're proposing the addition, I felt that having a connector wing to the addition piece that is an extension of the main roof was the right feature in terms of having this all kind of blend together as one piece of architecture, but you could still sort of, if you looked at it closely and had an understanding of the property, you would be able to tell where you have the original house, the barn, and then the addition. Two notable features in the design that are being replicated are the bay window facing the street that rotated over from the side of the house. I wanted that element to be a prominent feature on the front of the addition, and the the blended round stone veneer for the chimney on the right-hand side that then has the second floor overhang, and then the new chimney projects to the roof. The two original chimneys will be reconstructed above the roof line with a veneer brick. Moving up to the rear elevation of the home, this is where it looks different from what you originally saw in terms of the covered porch and how we detailed that area, and probably went through, I don't know, 3 or 4 iterations with Sarah maybe on the design of this porch. And I think where we landed is a really nice medium ground between where we started and where we are now, in the sense that the arches are pretty much exactly the same width as the originals, plus or minus an inch or two. And we're, the arches, we're copying that, but we're keeping it where the lower portion of the shingled wall is not there, so that it's much more of an open archway, veranda, rather than a fully enclosed rear covered porch that blocks a lot of light into the living spaces.
Did you have any discussion with Sarah about that change? Was she at all anxious to see more of the original enclosure brought up with the shingled, with a baluster and with a handrail and a shingled space below?
She didn't mention anything about a handrail or shingled below. We don't need, as you can see on the left-hand side as the grade drops down,
Yep.
We're still under 30 inches to grade for the drop-off. So it's not required, and I think it would be the owner's preference to keep it open.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, not at all.
Wanted to ask
Anyone can ask questions anytime, please. But no, after a few iterations back and forth with Sarah over the last month, this is where we all agreed this is a good design. And I appreciate her help on that, in the sense of, ideas are always welcome. So we would be doing a very similar detail on how we treat the shingling of those arches and how the shingles would, terminate. Do they wrap or do they do that? In the existing condition, the shingles are essentially like cut on the arch, and then there's a painted wood jamb that returns to the screen.
Sure.
So we would be doing just that.
Is there any flare at the base of the exterior wall?
Not
Sometimes
on-
it's a feature of it.
Not on the existing, but I am proposing a very modest flare on this one.
Just curious.
Yep, and that is to encapsulate the stone veneer we would put over concrete.
It's also pretty common on shingle style
Oh,
houses.
absolutely, yeah.
So I'm curious.
Just this afternoon, I took the opportunity to do a crawl space study for the future people picking up the house, because they're gonna wanna know where's.
I'm impressed. You must have been wearing overalls.
I had to change clothes before I came here. But basically the walls basically go down to the ground, and the plate is just buried in the earth. And so there's no flare. There's no flare existing. Next slide, please. And I included these, more blown up detail elevations, just so that if you're looking at it on paper, you're not just looking at the smaller overalls. Next slide, please. Yeah, pause here. One thing that we talked about with Sarah was how to, make sure that the dormers were the existing details are being matched, and all of that was very important. Important to match, window trim details, and it's actually not. It's not a very complicated trim package, I guess you could say, for the home. It's 1x5 casing with historic sills, very common louver shutters. It does have wood gutter profile. Some of it has a bed molding below, some of it doesn't. I'm showing a new fiberglass gutter with bed molding with a simple fascia board to match existing. So things like that, and the bay window to it's bigger than the original. It would look weird if it wasn't, if I took the exact same size from the original bay window that was there, but essentially scaling it a little bit to the for some wider windows so it doesn't feel out of place, and then have some new brackets that would match the existing design. Little things like below the existing porch, it's all shingled wall all the way down. I thought that stone base for the stairs and a pier at each column, and then a lattice was a more appropriate design for that. Next slide, please. Moving over to the right-hand side, this is where we're showing the addition, and over on the right-hand side, that's where we have the porch with the opened up doors. Next slide, please. This is the rear detail elevation of the addition, and just thinking of some important features to call out here. Nothing that I haven't covered already. Next slide, please. Same thing here. I guess one area that I didn't talk about specifically is how the rear portion of the reconstructed barn is handled, because the barn is not the proper depth for a garage, so it has more expansion towards the rear. And essentially what I did was take that side gambrel elevation, copy it, and rotate it 90 degrees to sort of bookend this piece of the house facing the ocean. And likewise with the second floor addition above the existing one-story space that is the connector wing between those two areas. That's another area where I took the gambrel profile from the opposite side of the house on the left side and brought that over to this side to make that roof transition. And to my own surprise in the design process, there's a very basic roof cricket to handle that. There isn't a real really bad snow catch that kind of jumps out as
You're not snowing anymore anyway, it's okay.
Yeah, right. But anyways, just wanted to make sure that the whole roof design comes together nicely. Next slide, please. And this is just where I was talking about in terms of over on the right-hand side of this elevation of, that's the existing, profile overhang of that 1907 barn addition, and so we're keeping that. I didn't show any building sections in here, but I actually will have a unique detail to make that work. Because right now the 2x6 floor joists cantilever out to make that overhang. We will need engineered wood joists for that. So we'll have to do some kind of engineered system to get that cantilever out, because I'm not going to cantilever 14 inch wood out of this out and ruin that. I've got a plan for that. And so this is the end of the proposed elevations, and then the next few slides are, I'm sorry, this was the pool house. Just a simple floor plan, and a nice little modest design that is inspired by the architecture both the original home and the addition. Next slide, please. And as now we just have the 3D views for the full context. Feel free to flip through. We could pause there. Yeah, this is a good view of the arches and how we'll take the shingles down, cut them on the arch, and then have a jam return to match, or not match, but to pay reference to the original detail for the rear covered porch, and where we do weave shingle corners on the outside, but then a painted jam wire with an exposed shingle edge at each opening. And then I think, is that the last slide? Another one? That's it. Okay. So, thank you very much.
That's awesome. Do you guys have anybody else who wishes to speak in terms of your own team and such? Okay.
I don't think so. We do have
Yep.
Harold. He's here, the owner.
Greetings.
But I think
Thank you for coming.
Bob has done a great job
Yeah,
going
thank
through.
you, yeah, I do too. Those are great drawings. One thing I'll share is, and I don't feel it's necessary in this one, but one thing we've learned over a few hearings recently is the value of 3D renderings that are a little bit more indicative of the planes of front and back. And so looking for dominance of structure, so you want to be sure that the new additions are subordinate in every way to the original, which these are, I think, in my own opinion, but it comes across visually a little more compellingly in a rendering than in a 3D CAD drawing kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, no, thank you.
no big deal, I'm just sharing that out loud because I think
completely
it's
agree.
a little easier for commissioners to compare prior and present, or, you know, existing and proposed and stuff like that way, but these are awesome. Commissioners, anything you'd like to comment on that you've seen? John?
No, I mean, I followed along at what you did with Sarah, in conjunction with Sarah. I like it.
I do too. I read her specific comments about the archway and the porches in the back and the roof lines, and understand the shingle style a little bit, and was relieved to see that she said those things to you, because it saved us needing to do that and saved you some time too,
Yeah.
which is awesome. And I like what you did in response to it. I gather she did too, or she, you know, wouldn't have sounded satisfied with it. I don't have any issues. I don't think but compliments really. I will add just quickly, I had a chance to look at this building, just looking at the Form B and then driving by it a couple of years ago when a previous owner wondered what they might do here.
Okay.
And my first impression was that the gambrel was a little unfortunate. The addition was so, as a style, incongruous with the shingle style building, and yet you've integrated the gambrel in some very useful ways which make it work, and I like that. And in the course of the same amount of time, Nancy Shoemaker and I and a number of other people have been working on a Cape Cod style pattern book for helping historical commissioners and realtors, and we were looking at shingle style buildings, and I don't know if you noticed it, but I saw one, don't think it was on the Cape, so I won't use it for the book, but it very much incorporated a pair of matching large gambrels with this long sweeping roof line down with a porch similar to this on it. It might have been in Newport or someplace like that, but clearly the two go together in a nice way, and I just feel that was a nice thing to see in this plan.
Okay.
Anyone from the public wish to speak on this at all? Are you folks happy? It's nice of you to be here. You're welcome to speak too if you want to.
We appreciate the feedback. We're so excited.
I hope you are. I think you should be. Any letters or comments from the public?
Nothing submitted.
Then I would move we close the public.
I will move that we close the public hearing.
In a
I'll
second.
second that.
All in favor of closing the hearing? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, public hearing is closed. We go to motions. Would someone please read the first motion on this one? Anybody willing? I
I
mean,
didn't copy that. Yeah, I'll be happy to do it.
thank you, Barbara. Appreciate it.
This is the motion of Harold Coxell. Coxell? I was,
Coxall.
okay, I want to make sure I say it right. Harold Coxell, Junior Trustee, 265 Seaview Avenue, Osterville, map 138, parcel 020, built 1890. contributing structure within the National Register District of Wayano. Partial demolition, structure to be lifted for new foundation. 1907 left side addition to be raised and reconstructed as a 3-car garage in new location. Gable dormers to be reconstructed, porch fully enclosed, new addition on right-hand side, and chimneys to be reconstructed. Motion 1, I move after review and consideration of public testimony, the application and said associated materials, the significant building 265 Seaview Avenue, Osterville is a preferably preserved significant building.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Nancy, thank you for seconding that. An aye vote will impose an 18-month delay. A nay vote will not impose an 18-month delay. And we'll do this by roll call. Excuse me.
Point of order, I'll just note that these are for the revised drawings
Thank you
dated
very much. I was
April
thinking
9th.
that, but not out loud.
Yes.
Very good. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nancy Shoemaker.
Nay.
Thank you. Barbara DiBiase.
Nay.
John Richmond.
Nay.
Robert Frazee, nay. Very good. And go to the second motion, please.
If motion 1 fails with a nay vote, I move that in accordance with section 112-3F, the Barnstable Historical Commission determines that the partial demolition of the building located 265 Seaview Avenue, Osterville is not detrimental to the historical, cultural, and architectural heritage or resources of the town.
And second, please.
I'll second that, Nancy
Thank you, Nancy.
Shoemaker.
Alrighty. An aye vote determines that the partial demolition of the single-family structure is not detrimental and no demolition delay will be imposed. Nancy Shoemaker.
Aye.
Barbara DiBiase.
Aye.
John Richmond.
Aye.
Robert Frazee. Aye. Very good. Well, congratulations. You have the beginnings of a big new adventure on your hands. That's great.
Thank you all for your time.
Well, thank you for
Appreciate
coming
it.
in. Well, I appreciate you're doing your homework on it too. That's helped on this.
Yes, thank you.
No, it wasn't gonna go.
I figured it would be too, just understanding what it is you're creating, you have to see it in 3D somehow.
Yeah.
And you guys get used to the drawing technique that you're doing that's mechanical, but it's a little, well, it's just more of a departure from the old hand-drawn architectural drawing days, and we're all a little bit still baked in on that.
Crucial to.
Yeah.
So, anyways, thank you, sir.
And thank you all.
Thank you very much. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You have a lovely home.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Alrighty, next one. Greetings, folks. Katuitt Fire District, 64 High Street, Katuitt, map 035, parcel 044, built 1930. Partial demolition, expansion of the existing fire station with minimal changes to the original structure.
We have only 3 people here right now.
Where did John go?
I-
He left his coat. I beg your pardon.
Hopefully he's coming back.
Oh, I'm sure he is. Thank you, Nancy. I was busy watching the page and not watching him.
I like the drawings of the children all around here.
Oh, they're wonderful. The artwork that they exhibit here and in the main hearing room in the council chamber are pretty cool every year.
I copied one of the pages because I love this old picture. And you haven't done that much to change
No,
it.
that's still there.
Yeah, you've just added on.
It's been added on to
Garage,
so many
yeah.
times. It's
Yeah, it's a history all by itself, doesn't it?
A lot of Band-Aids on it.
These 2 windows are. That's all right.
Hence my preference for more commissioners. If I thought we could recruit them, I wouldn't even mind having a bigger commission, but I don't know what the limitations or rules are on things like that.
Feels a little
Some-
weird not to be sitting in my house with my dogs and on my computer
Oh,
we're Zooming,
no
you know.
talking heads today, right?
Yeah.
We've been about Zoom to death, I think.
Yeah.
So this, for the rest of you, your
Much
benefit,
nicer.
this is our first
This is
in-person
much
hearing
nicer.
since last October.
Yeah, I
And
think we can
we
get
all
more
really prefer it. It's just,
conversation going.
it's
Yeah.
nicer, it's easier to relate to who's in the room,
The technology's working.
read what we're each thinking a little bit about, a little bit better.
Of course, I might not.
Well, technology works, no question.
You're on
We'd be
mute,
lost without it.
you're on
but-
mute.
Oh, yeah, that mantra,
Because the
that little
sound
red
is
line
is
through
that much
the-
better?
Here, we've been doing it for 5 years, but we still make the same mistake.
Time for a
It's
change.
true,
Time to
it's
get back to
true.
normal.
Okay, we can resume.
All righty.
About that.
No, no, that's okay, John, I'm sorry, I wasn't looking up when you departed, and I would've been smarter if I had been. So, Katuitt Fire District, 64 High Street, Katuitt, map 035, parcel 044, built 1930. Partial demolition, expansion of the existing fire station with minimal changes to the original structure. Third apparatus bay to be converted into entry, lobby, triage, and office spaces. Modifications to existing roof lines, handicap ramp, EMS apparatus bay, and roof in 1989 addition to be demolished. Historic gable end and roof line to be preserved, which will help minimize scale of the addition. And I will open the public hearing with a motion, if I can have one.
I so move, Nancy Schumacher.
Second.
I'll second that.
All in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, public hearing is open. Sir, please feel free to present your project to us.
Okay,
Thank you.
first, I'm Kurt Raber. I'm a principal architect at Catalyst Architecture and Interiors over in Yarmouthport, and we're proud to be the architects for the Katuitt Fire District. Chief Sean Brown is with me today, and
Greetings.
the Commissioner will probably remember just about a month ago, maybe a little longer, we were in front of you about the demolition of the house next door, which you granted and has not come down yet. But today, we're presenting the addition, renovation to the Katuitt Fire District, which will then go in the place of that residence next door. We come back to the cover page in the application, questions later, but the first slide is some existing photos, and the lower right-hand corner is the old photo from the late 30s. And you can see that the main gable of the fire station exists today. There is a little bit of office and storage space on the second floor amongst and the dormers are very narrow up there. Only changed it at some point, we don't know when, went from 4 windows on the second story to only 2. But they are the same size, and the 2 little windows there, we're not really sure what they did because they would be down in the eaves. Maybe it was just ventilation.
You kept your records out under the eaves for a few years, maybe.
Yeah, there's lots of paper up there. The addition with the sort of low slope roof on the left is one of the ambulance bays today. I'm not exactly sure of the age of that addition. We really couldn't uncover that, but big portion of the building you can't really see in these photos is the 1991 addition that starts with the entrance stair on the far left. That you come into a lobby and then you can proceed into the sort of main level, but you can also go downstairs, and there's a lower garage down around the side, which we'll see in the elevations. So this first left garage door will come off, and right about where the ramp is now will be a modest addition towards the parking lot as well. Where the higher railing is on the right side of the entrance ramp, that'll be where the new front door is. And the right half of the left overhead door, it will be our new triage room. So if somebody were to have a medical incident nearby and they can make it here, they could come right in and get immediate medical assistance from the EMTs. Second slide, a little bit more of the side elevation there. And as you go down the hill past the entrance, you can see there's a generator there, and then behind the generator is these 2 overhead doors. And there are fire truck, utility trailers, lighting, small boat, ATV, and other smaller, less frequently used fire apparatus are stored down there today. And in the future, as one of the fire trucks that's down there will come around to the new entrance, to the new cruise apparatus bay, and the light duty, more light-duty SUV trucks will be parked in the lower garage. Third slide shows some existing conditions of the rear of the 1991 addition, which is 2 stories. The lower level floor is about 2 feet below that grade there at the rear, facing the neighbor. And then upstairs is offices and bunk rooms. And this area will be renovated into offices and a training room. And then our addition, which will be to the left of the left photo, will contain the new bunk rooms and day room space on the second floor, or the main level. And then the lower level will be actually mechanical room, boiler room, electric room, and a physical fitness room, training room. The next slide shows the right side of the current station, and there's a little door into the main historic portion or mass of the old building. The other gable crossing there is currently home to all the turnout gear, which the firefighters store their helmets, coats, boots, etc. when they're not on duty. When they are on duty, they'll typically take their gear and put it in the vehicle or next to the vehicle that they're assigned to for the day or the shift. The photo B, in the lower left, is a kind of photo of the right side of the existing station, taken from halfway through the middle of the 54 lot next door. That door and stairwell will actually, in fact, this whole right side of the building will be encapsulated by the proposed addition. And again, there was a kind of arborvitaes that are a little skinny these days, but have grown up pretty tall, and was a physical divider between the former residents and the side of the fire station. The first plan is the site plan, or the existing conditions plan. On the right side is 64, it's the current fire station. 54 lot is the house and garage structure closer to the street, which previously were given permission to demolish and remove. The next is this proposed site plan, with the addition on the right side with the double crosshatch. And then there's a small deck inset halfway back on that elevation. Again, this is the 2 lots, and we have made application to site plan review before the town to start the planning process, but we wanted to kind of come through this commission first. A2 is the existing condition plans, and the lines that are shown in the broken line are the elements or structural elements, windows, doors, walls, etc. that'll be removed. It's a little deceiving here in this plan. I wanted to point out that it looks like a lot of broken lines on that original mass of the apparatus bay, which is the 2 right garages of the 3, is the center mass, which is that historic part of the building. We are showing the overhead doors and everything, but they're simply proposing to replace them. The physical structure itself will remain. Up the next slide, A3, shows that the second floor space currently is an open office and a storage room and a toilet room. Proposed to take that out. Originally, we thought this was going to be full of mechanical air conditioning equipment and ductwork, etc. Turns out that more of that's going to sort of be on top of the roof, hidden between the building masses, which I'll point out later. But the 3 little dormers in that space are going to come off. Proposed to remove them to make way for the framing of the new roof over the new entrance, lobby, triage room, and captain's office. A4 is the basement, or the lower level, which shows the old historic stone foundation. And then all the other foundations are quite a variety of additions over the years. The concrete walls, some were formed by hand-built forms out of planks, others are a little bit of brick here and there, but you can see the stone as you crawl through the underbelly of the building. Then the lower apparatus bay, and then to the right side of the page is our proposed addition.
Do you think there's any part of the original building that's older than the 1930 date? I'm just listening to the description of the foundations, and a couple of them sound like they would be earlier. It isn't critical to this matter, I don't think, at all, but I'm just curious.
Record originally says year built 1930.
well, loose
Yeah.
rubble stone and hand-formed with plank, concrete poured
Yeah, well, we
foundations
think-
are very early 20th century, earlier than 1930
Yeah.
typically, not always, I mean, things lingered.
Um,
No matter, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your
That's okay.
flow, either. You're doing great, it just,
um,
it's one of those itches I have a hard time not scratching.
A4 is the proposed floor plan of the lower level, and the large rectangle here in the lower right is unexcavated, so that is the space below. And it's not a crawl space, it's just an open structure there. The next page is the proposed floor plan of the entire main level. And again, the two ambulance bays, the lower left kind of quadrant of are the two center bays in that historic portion of the building. The third bay that we're removing is where the triage room and the entry vestibule are now. And then you can see this plan is a little bit more organized than the old one, where we have the kind of captain's office, the fire district, and the Katuitt fire district's business offices are also called the treasurer's office. And there's a conference room, deputy chief's office, a training room, which they don't really have now. They kind of use their day room as a training space. And the center of the building is gonna have proper EMS storage room, a proper decontamination room, which they don't have now. They've got laundry machines down in the lower level. They've got basically coats hanging on clotheslines to dry, and there's gonna be the proper equipment to disinfect and clean and dry their uniforms and their turnout gear equipment. A bigger storage gear room, and then in the back there, we've got the 5 bunk rooms, shared restrooms, a big day room, and a small deck, which is actually our second egress out of that level. A6 is second floor plan, the mechanical room. We're not gonna have too much mechanical equipment in it now, because the majority of our HVAC equipment is gonna be on the dark shaded area, which is a low pitch membrane roof between the existing gables and the proposed gable of the new apparatus garage. The upper left quadrant is the 1991 edition. It looks as though it has a swimming pool in the center, but it's truncated in this view. So it comes up to a peak there with, and then we've got a unique way to kind of hide the HVAC's equipment, where we've got sort of a parapet wall with a single slope shed roof wrapping around almost 2 sides of that back upper right quadrant. The roof plan on A7 shows the whole roof in its entirety, but those two, that little lane through there, that well, is where we're hiding the HVAC equipment. Now, when this was printed a couple weeks ago, it located 4 AC units. There's actually going to be 2 larger rooftop units hidden in there as well. But we've got a roof screen on the right side and the left side to kind of prevent, the view of that from the parking area or from the abutter next door on the right. Finally, getting to A8 on the elevations. And we've stacked here the existing elevation in the lower half of the page, proposed elevation. They're in the center of the page. And you can see that from left to right, we've got our new addition with an entry vestibule. You go in there's a little waiting lobby and the triage room in the second window from the left. And then we propose to remove and replace the 2 overhead doors with more of a full light glass door, which will match the 3 new doors in the right half of the drawing. Of course, the addition is much taller on purpose so that we can actually, over time, acquire larger fire trucks that are taller with ladders on top.
Custom build your new trucks so they
Custom
fit
fire
anywhere.
trucks are a lot more expensive than the standard ones. But on the proposed addition, we also did bring back the 3 dormers, so they're now facing the street rather than sort of being on the side. And it just adds a lot of, scale, I think. And then we do have a little peek of the rear portion of the building that's visible down the right side, where you can see a little overhang over a door, then beyond that, a deck and a rail at the deck. And then there's that shed roof, which encloses the bunk room space beyond. So it is twice the width, but we're trying to sort of keep that old gable there with the old windows. And the sign will be reused. Turning to A9, we've got the two side elevations with the left side of the building at the top of the page. And again, we've been building from right to left. We'll be building a new sidewalk, a new handicap ramp down to the parking lot from that entrance sidewalk, a new railing to prevent people sort of stepping off into the handicap parking area to the new front door. Flagpole will be new. This gable here in the center of the top elevation is new, and that goes back and is overbuilt about halfway back into that original mass.
That's
And-
the one that was the reason for eliminating the dormers in that original.
Yeah,
site.
we wanted to do something that kind of build a ridge that was parallel with the road, that created that well, that hid all the rooftop equipment that we knew we were gonna have. And then between the 1991 addition on the far right and that new gable, we've got the roof screen with a vertical picket. And so that'll be detailed with a 5.5 or 6 inch picket with a 1 inch gap, so it's a little bit of wind can blow through it, but really obscures your view of the equipment that would be behind it. At the lower half of the page there, sorry, is the old elevation. The salt box shape is that stair that takes you from the front entrance down to the lower level. This A10 is the right or east elevation. Rear elevation, east side. And the right side of the page shows the existing condition on the bottom and reorganization of the windows and reimagination of the windows in the training room and the office space upstairs, because the program behind that wall is changing and the interior partitions are moving. And then changing the look entirely where the ridge or the eave line steps down purposely in the bunk room area, and then the group of ganged windows in the lower level in the far left here is the lower level fitness room, and we just wanted a lot of daylight in there. And we can open up the lower sash for some ventilation. Again, the shed roof on that left portion of the rear addition creates a well, and we're hiding rooftop equipment back there.
You seem to be going to 2/2s as your.
Yeah, we'd like to.
Are you doing 2/2s uniformly on the other elevation on the other side as well, on what would be the north side of the building? I meant to ask that when you were looking at the north side. I thought I saw a mix, so you've got a mix mash of 2/2s to the left, and you've got
Right.
6/6s in the.
We're proposing the same siding and same siding color, except for the bunk room area, we would like to go with the vertical siding there, just to kind of make the
I was
buildings
less
feel
concerned
like
about
different masses.
I was less concerned about the siding
Yeah.
than the window
So
fenestration.
in sort of the front street windows were 6/6s, so we were gonna stay the 6/6 on the front as we got past.
Okay, I
As we got
misunderstood.
past the front mass into the 91 addition, we were gonna
So your
switch over.
dormers on the new building will be 6/6s as opposed to?
Yes,
Okay, I
yes.
misunderstood that. Great, thank you. Perfect.
And then A9, A10, 11 is now the right side. And again, at the bottom of the page is the existing elevation. And the little man door on the left is the way into the old historic mass. The skylights will go away. The gable there is our turnout gear. That entrance in the middle of the drawing, the lower drawing will go away. This side of the 1991 edition will be obscured by the new edition. The top of the page kind of shows you how the different roof lines work, and then the deck is inset into a little recess with a roof screen on it again to hide what's behind it. I'll pause here, and the two windows that are in the top left main gable, which is our apparatus garage. During our design review meeting last week, we were talking with the fire department about what's going in the apparatus garage on that wall. And we suggested that the windows there, although nice in the elevation, may not be advantageous because of the equipment that's going on the wall, workbenches, things hanging on the wall, tools, implements. And then does the neighbor really need to see into the apparatus garage from their side? Now, there's going to be a very extensive amount of landscaping. The neighbor already has a 6-foot stockade fence, which is gonna kind of block the majority of their view of this elevation. But if the commission would agree, we'd like to omit those two windows in the top left.
You have very special needs for our public safety, so I
Yeah,
I don't think you
I
need to
mean,
apologize.
It's a
anyway.
pretty big wall without any fenestration.
No, and I was gonna
The
say
addition
maybe
being
we'll,
so much higher, it's understandable because you're gonna have larger equipment in there.
yeah, I was almost gonna wait until we have regular discussion, but I don't have to. I mean, Nancy jumping in is perfectly right, and I tend to agree with her. I also wanna add in that same vein, I mean, watching Barnstable go through some of their hearings before Old Kings Highway and stuff, they have a wall facing north that had exactly the same question discussed, and whether it should have windows or shouldn't, and it was a case of what was the functionality of the space immediately behind,
Right.
and it would not have been appropriate, and it was approved without windows, so I think your decision to eliminate them unless somebody's excited about it is not a big deal.
Okay. So that was the end of our drawing presentation. The other thing that I wanted to point out was that in our application, we proposed kind of a wood window with a vinyl or aluminum exterior, true divided light, and we were thinking white sash with white casings. And then I think on our application, and on our drawings, our intent was to do black overhead doors with gold glass in all 5 bays.
The black makes the partitions disappear a lot more, and you look into what you see on the other side that way.
So, question came up 2 weeks ago, but after we submitted this, would the commission mind if all the window sashes were black with white casing on this building, or would you like to see us stay with the white windows and white casings?
It's a detail I wasn't anticipating
Yeah.
being asked.
We submitted on the white,
That's white
and
on
we'd
white,
like to
yeah,
change it
yeah.
to black sashes with white casings.
And that's
to match
not
the overhead
something we
doors.
can tell you, you have to make it. So
No,
yeah.
I mean, so our main thing here is how you're treating the existing historic building, how you're upholding its significance as a historic building for Katuitt and the
Yeah.
town and the people. And I think that works fine. The detail of a color choice, or even to some extent the fenestration matters, are a little bit less our jurisdiction as a historical commission. You're not in a historic district per se, so it's not, we don't manage the minutia too much. But if you had a whole pile of things that might come under the heading of minutia, which in aggregate just overwhelmed the original building, we would be compelled to speak up about it. I don't think that
It is somewhat from the height, but I love that you put the 3 windows together.
I think so too.
You know,
No, I
it-
like this design. to be
It's
honest.
actually got a little more finesse than what they did in the 30s.
Well,
It is gonna add some daylight into the apparatus garage.
Sure.
So,
So I mean, my feeling is you should choose which you collectively prefer. I mean, they used to paint screens black so you didn't see window screens. I mean, it's true, you
Right.
can paint something black so you don't see it as much, except from the outside, sometimes black against a light colored siding, even though there's trim around it, it's what pops when the eye looks. I mean, you're gonna have to make your own choice.
sure.
Chief, do you have anything you wanna say about any of this, or, I mean, you're gonna live there, at least for a while, right?
Yeah, thank you, certainly, Sean Brown, Fire Chief Katuitt. Thank you for the time to be present in front of the board.
Could you sign in for
Yeah,
us?
we need to get
Oh,
you to.
yep.
I'll sign, you
You
keep
can
talking.
do
I'll
that,
sign.
he can forge your name as a good autograph, that's fine, we all know you're here and you're on camera.
Thank you for the opportunity to present in front of the board, and certainly part of the fire service is embracing our traditions, and as we progress to meet the needs of the future, and just like everything we do, I think this project and what Catalyst did really embraces that desire to maintain the tradition of service to the community as we, again, as I said, prepare to meet the needs of the future. So, thank you very much.
We appreciate that, we appreciate your coming in. I mean, because it's so substantial, and this is true in Barnstable, and it's true in most of the districts in the town and most of the towns in the Cape, you're building something that will be essentially a landmark building from a visual standpoint to your community, which is fine considering your line of work. I think that's awesome. But architecturally, that's one of the reasons it matters for us as well, and I think this looks great, personally.
Thank you.
And you help keep our old building still standing, which means a lot.
Yeah, no, I think
Yeah.
that's really nice. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Erica, did we have any public comment on this at all? Is any member of the public came to speak to this? I'm thinking you guys are waiting for the next round, and that's okay. We'll try and keep moving here pretty quick.
Yeah.
In that case, if you guys are all set, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second?
Second that.
All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty, public hearing is closed. Time to read the motions for this one,
Oh, no, I don't have it. If you don't have
No, no.
or you can kind of pass it along if you want to. It's the only other alternative there is
Yes,
to
that's
that.
possible.
This is the motion for the Katuitt Fire District. I'm sorry?
That's okay. I was just gonna say if you could just at the end of it, when you're reading it in, just add it with the modification to omit those 2 windows on the south elevation.
Oh, good for you.
2 windows on
South elevation.
south. Got it. Okay. This is the motion for Katuitt Fire District, 64 High Street, Katuitt, map 035, parcel 044, built 1930. Partial demolition. Expansion of the existing fire station with minimal changes to the original structure. Third apparatus bay to be converted into entry, lobby, triage, and office spaces. Modifications to existing roof lines. Handicap ramp, EMS apparatus bay, and roof in 1989 addition to be demolished. Historic gable end and roof line to be preserved, which will help minimize scale of addition. In addition, omit the 2 windows on the south elevation. Motion 1, I move after review and consideration of the public testimony, the application, associated materials, the significant building, 64 High Street, Katuitt, is a preferably preserved significant building.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Nancy. An aye vote will impose an 18-month delay, a nay vote will not impose an 18-month delay. Nancy Shoemaker.
Nay.
Barbara DiBiase.
Nay.
John Richmond.
Nay.
Robert Frazee, nay. On to the second motion, if the motion 1 fails.
If motion 1 fails with a nay vote, I move that in accordance with section 112-3F, the Barnstable Historical Commission determines that the partial demolition of the building located 64 High Street, Katuitt, is not detrimental to the historical, cultural, and architectural heritage or resources of the town.
And a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, John. An aye vote determines that the partial demolition of the single-family structure, I'm gonna say that, is not detrimental. No demolition delay is imposed. Nancy Shoemaker.
Aye.
Barbara DiBiase.
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Robert? Aye. You're all set, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for yours. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your
Good luck with the
service, and
project.
thank you
These are
for
not simple
keeping an eye on
things.
a bit of history.
Thank you very much.
Take care of those old buildings.
Yeah,
We try.
I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm much more concerned about what you do, when it's turnout time and
Yep.
it's an old one burning. So get the people out and save the building too, please.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
Take care. Alrighty. Zig Harbor LLC, 100 Washington Avenue, Hyannis, map 287, parcel 116, built 1920.
Sure.
Contributing structure within the National Register District of Hyannisport. Partial demolition, lift house and pour new concrete foundation. Porte cochere to be demolished and reconstructed with new roof, deck, and railing system above. Front entry porch to be removed and rebuilt. Existing sunroom on the right side to be removed and rebuilt. Existing north side shed roof to be removed. Construct 2 new entry porches on the north side. Window changes throughout. And construct a new dormer on the south-facing side between the 2 existing gables. Righty. And we could have a motion to open a public hearing,
I move that we open a public hearing.
and a second for same.
Second.
And all in favor of doing so, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're in public hearing. Welcome, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Sorry
Thank you.
that some things take longer than ever, but, that's just life. Welcome.
It is.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Kevin Dauphinay from Sandbox Design Studio, architect for the project, and I'm joined by Carolyn Tenney, who is, along with her husband Tim, are owners of this particular property. So there's going to be two projects we're talking about. This one being, or the first one being the main house located at 100 Washington Ave. So I don't know if you guys have been to the site, but the two structures that we're going to talk about look very much like they are on one property, but indeed they are divided with a property line between them, which actually predates the construction of the house. Both structures were built in 1920. Property was established, I believe, in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So it's always been two lots. So obviously it's was developed at one time, probably by the same person, the same builder. There are a lot of similarities between the two buildings. Vintage of the buildings are, they were built at the same time. A lot of the details are the same. So, and they've been under the same ownership for many years up until I believe 2015, which was the previous homeowner. They did change ownership on the two properties, although I think they were just different trusts for tax purposes or something, essentially the same owner.
Like, it's pretty complicated sometimes.
Yeah, very complicated. So that's all I need to say. It's very unique in terms of it being two separate lots, plus the two separate applications for this as well. So we will begin talking about the main house project, which is largely a restoration project. We are proposing to lift the existing building. We are removing some of the sort of appendages, if you will, to the structure. One, because we can't lift them with the house, and two, they're in such disrepair that they wouldn't have a lift anyway. So I apologize, the pictures are a little small, but the top row of photographs are aerial photos showing both structures of the entire property at 100 and 112. The second row is primarily focused on the main house. So second row down, first on the left is the primary view of the front elevation from Washington Ave. So on the left-hand side, there's an existing porte cochere that we are removing, but we do intend to rebuild it in kind, although we are going to be making it 2 feet shorter. The UPS trucks have kind of a tough time getting up the driveway with its current situation, and actually the gutter has been ripped off of that end, probably from a delivery truck at one point in time.
Maybe trying to drive under it.
Quite possibly. So obviously they didn't make it. So we do want to widen the driveway on that side. We're pretty tight to the property line, so there's really no other way we can go with that. The front porch, which is on the south-facing side or water-facing side, we are also removing and going to be rebuilding in kind. On the right-hand side, which you can see on the third picture from the right, there's an existing sun porch, which we believe at one time was an open porch. It's all shingled on the interior finish for that, so it was probably infilled at some point over its lifetime. We are removing that structure. You can see with the blue tarp, it's actually taking on water pretty heavily right now, so the flat roof up there is definitely in need of repair. So we're just going to remove that whole thing and rebuild it in kind, but with a larger footprint, which I can review when we get to the elevations and plans. So the remaining elevations, walking around towards the backside, the third row down, first picture on the left, there's an existing shed roof that's on the back of the building. Just looking at that, I don't believe that's original 1920 vintage. It looks like it was probably added at some point in time. It is still very old, so I don't think it was too long after the original construction that was added. There's an outdoor rinse station, a couple other old cold storage box is what it appears on the back. That is the kitchen through that door under the porch, so probably helpers type kitchen. So I think a lot of the service entrance was in the back, and food was prepped and probably delivered to the main spaces of the house, given the vintage of the house. And then following around the photos, the porte cochere, which you can see third row down, all the way in the right. Again, you can see how tight the driveway is on the right-hand side of it, and I don't think any car would dare try to get under it at this point in time. Probably different times when that was constructed for probably a horse arrangement rather than a car arrangement. So we're going to correct the scale of that and pull it back a little bit.
That's going to be demolished and not
It's coming
replaced?
down, but rebuilt in kind, just 2 feet shorter. Yep.
Okay.
So all the corbel brackets that you can see on the structure.
Shorter front to back. as we see
So
in the
basically,
picture.
the right-hand side of it in that third row
Yeah,
end picture is going to the left 2 feet.
oh, you're just going closer to the house,
Yeah, it's
okay, that's
closer to
fine,
the
I just
house,
realized
just a
there were two
wide-
ways to interpret what
Yeah.
you said, it's fine.
Thank you for the
Yeah,
the
no worries.
clarification there. But basically, all the columns, the design of the columns, the brick piers under the columns, everything, we're recreating all of that. All of the corbel brackets that you can see at the soffits, including the depth of the soffit, we're actually pulling, everything on the exterior of the house is coming off. We're going to be rebuilding or recreating in kind. Color of the house, these shingles are somewhat unique. There's a 10-inch exposure on them, which is not common nowadays, but we are actually going to replicate the dimension of those, the shingle coursing. Doors and windows, we are changing some things around, which I'll walk you through when we get to the elevations, but like I said at the outset, largely this is a renovation or a restoration project. We're keeping a good portion of the door and window locations where they are currently. The bottom row is the carriage house, which we'll talk about during the next conversation. But you can see that there are definitely similarities between the two buildings that we are actually hoping to improve, not just maintain. So I did create these drawings. So these HR drawings, if you want to go to the next slide, rather than, we have the site plan. So this is the existing site plan showing that property line that I talked about between the two properties, which is very tight to the existing, the rear side of the main house, almost touching that porch that we had talked about earlier, the shed porch. And you can see the carriage house, which is lot 112 Washington on the back side there. But one driveway, circular driveway in the back. It's always functioned as one.
So it's clearly conceived as one thing.
Yes,
right?
exactly,
You all
exactly.
acknowledge that pretty easily.
All right, next slide, please. So the areas of demolition that I described in the photographs, so sort of plan north, which is actually the east side of the house, is the sun porch, working around to the left. That shed roof porch on the back side we're removing, as well as there's a concrete slab next to it. That little alcove, which is a covered porch right now, we're removing the decking. We're actually infilling the portion of that with new interior space. That's why it's being shown as demolition. To the plan south or west side of the property, that's the porte cochere that we're removing in order to lift it, and again, shortening, moving up on the plan view. And then the front porch on the front side, we're removing as well, but again, rebuilding pretty much in kind. Next slide, please. So in terms of footprint changes, on the plan north or the eastern side, we're squaring off the back corner there to expand the kitchen on the interior. We are adding 2 modest porches on the back or north-facing sides. Again, the porte cochere on the plan south or west-facing side, rebuilt in kind, just 2 feet shorter. And the front porch, we are rebuilding pretty much the exact same footprint as the existing. Next slide, please. So do we have the HR drawings? They may be at the end of all this. I think it'd be easy to walk you through the changes on the exterior elevations and then maybe circle back
Yeah,
to the
they
floor
may be the
plans.
most important ones for all of our considerations anyway, truthfully.
Okay, okay, yeah, that's good. So what I did is I prepared these drawings. So the top drawing in this and the following 3 slides is the existing house. And the bottom one is what's being proposed. So you can do a direct comparison between what is and what will be, which I found to be quite easy to read. So hopefully you do as well. So again, if you kind of squint, they're the same houses. Like I said earlier, the doors and windows are primarily in the same, if not similar, locations. We are changing from 6/6, grill patterns to a 6/1. We are changing on the second floor. There's a couple windows that sort of have been stepped through to get to that, what wasn't supposed to be a roof deck, but Carol can attest that was used over the years as a roof deck. So we actually provided doors so people can actually get out there in an unharmful way, hopefully. The scale of the windows is increasing a little bit, just to allow more light to come into the building, be a little bit more proportional. On the first floor where there's the double hung picture, double hung in two different locations on the front, we are widening that center fixed window a little bit and adding a grill pattern at the top of it as opposed to the lack of grills that you can see in the top elevation. The front entry door or the street facing entry door, we're pretty much keeping in kind in terms of its design. So the flat roof structures that exist on the top elevation there, we're actually making roof decks in the proposed. So keeping the flat roof, but actually adding railings, code compliant railings, maintaining the aesthetic of sort of the X design that you can see in the original on the top, but actually making it code compliant while maintaining sort of a similar design, but again, maintaining the code requirements for the passage of a sphere. On the right-hand side, we are maintaining the width of the existing sun porch, but it is extending 3 feet towards us in that drawing, and we're squaring off the corner all the way to the back. So from the front elevation, it looks pretty much the same scale. Go to the next slide, please. So in the top elevation, you can see the sun porch was, I think it was about 12 feet, and we are extending that flat roof structure all the way to the back so that it does square off to the back corner of the existing house as well.
No windows there?
So no windows there. So you can see we are proposing, that's where the air conditioning condensers are gonna go, and that is the kitchen.
Fire apparatus behind it.
Yeah, that's what we have. There is a kitchen back there, so that's primarily where all the upper cabinets and the refrigerator and wall ovens and things are going. I don't know if you guys have been out to the site, but this probably 4 or 5 feet away from this is a lot of heavy vegetation. There's actually a pretty heavy tree line between this property and the neighbor's property, so it's unlikely that you'll actually see this from the street, if at all. And we probably will have some kind of fence enclosure around those condensers at some point. We're not exactly sure that 4 is going to be the number just yet, but this is the best location. It's out of sight. You really can't see it easily from the street. And all other three elevations are pretty wide open to either backyard or public view, so we're trying to hide those as best we can. Next slide, please. So the north or rear-facing side, again, from a form standpoint, we're not changing too much. On the top elevation, like I mentioned earlier, we're removing that shed roof porch from the back. We're adding 2 smaller shed roof structures to the back. One is going to be sort of the family entrance, and the other, the one that's on the right with the double French doors, is going to be actually the primary entrance because all of the parking, guest, and family are in the back side of the house. So this is really going to be used as the primary entrance. Even though there is a similar entrance on axis with this one on the front side of the house as well.
It's the Cape, you're not supposed to use
Exactly.
the door.
It's very informal. Carolyn keeps telling me,
Yeah, he keeps formalizing it.
it's like, we don't lock the doors.
No, you're good.
Like, okay. So the larger window just to the right of that entry that we talked about, so there is a stair inside of there. So the existing house, it's not insulated, there are no interior finishes, it's very dark on the inside. So one of the goals for the project is to allow more light to come in, and obviously we're going to insulate it, and then we're going to be a lot cleaner interior finishes to help that light bounce around a little bit. But we really wanted to bring some light in at the stair where we could actually get a nice tall window to.
I love that, but
as an
now you have no
architectural feature.
outdoor shower.
That's going somewhere else.
Okay.
We're not exactly sure where, but
We won't talk about
we
that.
wanted to keep it off of the main house because of obviously the beautiful architecture that we're hopefully doing here, and maybe it becomes something that's secondary over at the carriage house property. And we are actually adding a stair to the basement now that the house will have a basement. So that's what that smaller window is there as well, that there is light coming down into that basement space.
You don't appear to be raising the house much above grade.
We are actually
Are you so?
proposing to raise it. 14 inches is what we're thinking
really?
right now, but
Okay.
we are thinking that we're going to manipulate the grade a little bit too, because there is one spot on the bottom elevation, sort of on the right where the house, it's like 2 inches from grade, the bottom of that shingle. So we are raising the house, but we do want to pitch everything away from the house too, which the current house doesn't really have a lot of great water management, so we're trying.
Well,
to
it
control
doesn't
that a
read
little bit
super proud of the grade the way you've drawn it, which is what I liked.
Yep.
Just meaning that.
That's one thing we actually like about the house quite a bit, especially on the front or water-facing side. There's an existing brick patio that's covered, and it really is like an outdoor living room. So
Sure.
keeping that relatively close to grade is something that we're trying to strive for, though we are adding a couple of steps just to get it up a little bit more. And then one more elevation, please. So again, Port Corsair elevation, so we are proposing a flat roof that's accessible from the primary bedroom on the second floor. We are actually, so there's an attic space up there now, which is a full walk-up, full headroom attic that is not finished, so we are proposing to finish a portion of that. And we're increasing the size of the windows on the third floor that you can see, quite a bit larger than the existing, which we feel are a little disproportionate to the rest of the elevation to begin with. So we feel this is a little bit more appropriate, and obviously let a lot more light and egress into that, which is a bedroom space up there. So I'm happy to walk you through the plans if you think that that's something that you'd be interested in. And really, no major footprint changes, moving a few partitions around here and there to reconfigure some bedrooms, but I think primarily what you guys are interested in is the exterior.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what counts for us more than anything. If you were changing the programming of the interior in a way that was reflected in the exterior fenestration location, major things such as the rear window for the stairwell.
Yep.
I mean, we can see what's going on there. That's pretty self-evident. I don't think anything short of that is really necessary to go into in great detail, although it was fascinating to look at. And I will say I went online and I saw those little pictures and listings of the interior too, because I wanted to understand, both sides of each wall. It's quite a house.
It is, it's kind of, for me, so I grew up there, I've been there 64 years, so
Oh.
I know this house very well.
That is so
I've been
cool.
to parties at the house, I knew the
There you
previous
go.
owners. I didn't understand, honestly, how much work I was gonna have to do. Like, I thought it was fine with the basement, that it was the way it was.
Most people
but-
don't understand
Yeah,
houses
so
until they
that-
don't have a
that-
choice.
That's been a new discovery, but one of my goals is that, Hyannisport, we all know each other. People get very upset if you change anything too much.
You noticed.
So, oh, I know that house you're talking
I know
about.
you know we noticed, right? I'm
My-
noticing how many people aren't in the room at the moment, which is to your credit.
Well, my dad actually is one of the houses impacted by that. He lives
dear.
at the Milan House, which is a house from the 1800s, and he's gonna lose his view. He's one of the people losing his
I'm
views.
sad about it. So
That's neither here
It's a
nor
separate
there,
matter.
but yeah, it is. And, so anyway, I'm trying to do something that is keeping the look of it. I've added things, safety things, because I think it's a miracle no one died.
That's
Because
true of a lot of
everyone
houses
flies
from
out
that
on
era.
those, goes out on those flat roofs. There's no way to keep them off the flat roofs. They'll climb out of the windows, they'll do whatever they can. So that's part of what you see there. When I look at it, if I were gonna do anything, the only thing we haven't been able to do is replicate the exact patterning of the
rails.
which I like.
Yeah.
They're old, and they've assured me we can replicate everything else. We're gonna reuse the brick. We're really making an effort.
No,
And
and it
I'm
shows.
into conservation, so I wanna reuse as much as we can.
Super.
One thing, as you are taking things down in a way, if any of those columns are decent and you can save them, but if you not sure you want to do that, that's your right, but you also might want to give them to a company that takes in
Yeah, that's a great
historic.
Yeah, sometimes if they're sound enough, sometimes the fact they're old materials counts to their credit rather than to their detriment. If they're in a different purpose and use, they can make good use of them. That's true of historic timber and materials often in old houses. Did we have any public comment on this?
No public comment.
Okay.
I know everybody around.
No, I know. So, I think that's awesome. Commissioners, any other comments or
Just a
questions?
question, the railings,
Yeah.
I don't know what is involved in being code compliant, okay? They look like they're metal,
No,
Good drawing.
they,
whereas the old ones were white wood,
yeah, so these are gonna be white. They may not be wood, but they're not
but
metal.
they'll be white.
Yes.
They won't,
It-
it won't
and
be
the-
that French Quarter look.
No, and they're gonna be the same scale as the original, and I pause on the wood part, they may end up being, PVC or something that.
Whatever, they'll be white.
A little less maintenance than white. But yes, they are white.
That makes sense. The only change in the appearance of the house, which was on the facade, on the street side, that gave me pause briefly was the addition of the dormer between the dormers, which
Right, actually.
allows you to use your third floor. And
Yeah, I think
and I don't
that's
mind
fine.
it, it's just, it's the biggest change
It is.
from status quo, other than bringing things up to a standard that I noticed, and I just wanted to say it out loud in case anybody was concerned with it. But I kind of feel like it works. I really do. I think the fenestration uniformity is helpful. I kind of like the 6/1. I've seen a lot of variations on that. I think multiple panes at the top of your, call them for lack of a better word, picture windows is a nice touch, which makes them look less 1960-ish. Even though they're
Yeah.
probably much older than that, that's not the point. They read like a modern window somebody threw in because they wanted more view, but now that's much less so.
Well,
Yes.
it's 5:30 and we have one more to go through.
I think we're good, so,
Can I make a motion to end our public
and
hearing?
the public hearing on this one, thank you very much, and a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep, any opposed? No, great. Moving straight on to a vote on this.
Yeah, we've got
We-
12
Barbara, you still
minutes
want to be
left.
the reader? Well, I'm hoping we can move pretty quickly through the garage one. We kind of have to, we don't have a choice. So we're reading Zig Harbor LLC, 100 Washington Avenue in the motions.
Okay, motion on Zig Harbor LLC, 100 Washington Avenue, Hyannis, map 287, parcel 116, built 1920, contributing structure within the National Register District of Hyannis Port. Partial demolition, lift house and pour new concrete foundation, port cochere. To be, if it was Italian,
Sorry about
I'd
that.
get
It's
it.
easier if you say it faster. At least
To
that's
be
the way I
demolished
discovered.
and reconstructed with new roof deck and railing system above. Front entry porch to be removed and rebuilt. Existing sunroom to the right side to be removed and rebuilt. Existing north side shed roof to be removed. Construct 2 new entry porches. Motion 1, I move that after review and consideration of public testimony, the application and associated materials of the significant building 100 Washington Avenue, Hyannis, is a preferably preserved significant building.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. An aye vote will impose an 18-month delay, a nay vote will not impose an 18-month delay. Nancy Shoemaker.
Nay.
Barbara DiBiase.
Nay.
John.
Nay.
Robert. Nay. Awesome. Motion number 2.
If motion 1 fails with a nay vote, I move that in accordance with section 112-3F, the Barnstable Historic Commission determines that the partial demolition of the building located 100 Washington Avenue, Hyannis, is not detrimental to the historical, cultural, and architectural heritage or resources of the town.
And second?
Second.
Thank you, John. An aye vote determines that the partial demolition of the single-family structure is not detrimental. No demolition delay would be imposed. Nancy Shoemaker.
Aye.
Barbara DiBiase.
Aye.
John Richmond. Aye. Robert. Aye. Awesome. We did it.
All right.
And moving on quickly to Zig Harbor LLC, 112 Washington Avenue, 112 Washington Avenue, to add emphasis, Hyannis map 287, parcel 116/001, built 1920, contributing structure within the National Register District of Hyannisport. Partial demolition, right side garage bay to be removed completely and rebuilt, existing second floor to be extended over third bay, and construct new dormers on north and south facing elevations. New stairs, railings, and roof system window changes. All righty. I need to just open a public hearing for it, if I have a motion to do so.
I move we open the public
And
hearing.
a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We did it. Sir, you're on.
Okay, it's us again.
Yes, no, that's okay, yeah.
All right, so same format for these drawings. The top elevations are the existing, the lower elevations are proposed. So one quick thing on the top left elevation. So, at some point in time, this what was probably a 2-bay garage adopted this third bay that does have a flat roof on it that is accessible by a door. That third bay has settled quite dramatically. There was actually a wetlands behind this too, which may have had something to do with it, but it needs to be rebuilt completely because we can't put any new structure, nor can we actually maintain the existing structure on the foundation that has broken off from the building. So with that in mind, we are rebuilding that entire third bay, and as the lower elevation would suggest, we're gonna extend the existing gambrel roof over that third bay. Rather than do a long shed dormer, we're actually gonna do 3 individual shed dormers. The likelihood is that we're probably gonna be reframing this entire roof just because of getting things to align and technical construction methods back in the day versus now, and we don't wanna have any kind of strange lumps in the roof or anything. So we're probably gonna be removing that whole roof and rebuilding it, but in kind. Same pitches, same heights, all of that. So the elevations that are on the right, which are the east elevation, so that's where the roof deck is. You can see the door on the second floor. So obviously the roof deck is gonna be gone because we're enveloping that with new second floor space here, but we are adding a door on the first floor, which would be an interior access to an interior stair that goes up to the second floor, which it currently does not have. Well, we are maintaining on the left-hand side of the bottom left elevation, a secondary egress up to that space, which is where there's an existing stair, but we are rebuilding it. Next slide, please. All right, so lower left elevation is the new rear elevation, so we are maintaining a shed roof on the back here as opposed to 3 individual dormers. The lower left, we are not doing a window there because there is actually a set of stairs going up to the second floor space, which is a new interior stair. And the lower right-hand elevation is a reconstructed stair that actually ends on the center line of the gambrel as opposed to off-center like you can see on the top elevation with a door, again, on that center line and 2 flanking windows. And again, a lot of the details that we're showing on the carriage house are emulating what we're doing at the main house.
With the existing house on the upper right, was that a stairway that was not boxed in?
Yes, it was an open stairway,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
And because it is, actually, it has a kitchen up there, so it is like a small dwelling in itself. We do need the 2 means of egress, so now we have the exterior stair along with a new interior stair as well.
I'm assuming that the siding will match the house, it probably already does.
Yes,
Respect to
exactly.
those kinds of
Same siding.
Okay.
A lot of the same trim details, although the main house, the scale of the main house features are a little bit larger,
Sure.
appropriately, and these are a little bit smaller.
Alrighty. I think we all had a pretty good chance to look at this as well. We tended to look at them both at the same time, which is not too surprising,
Makes
is it?
sense, right.
And pardon me for taking longer than I probably should have. I forgot that they were being run as 2 separate things, and we need to make sure we finish. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I move that we
And a
close the
second.
public hearing.
Second.
And all in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. So, Barbara, could you please read the
Sure.
motion?
She's gonna be hoarse.
Yeah, I know, I appreciate that. We'll have to rotate this job around a little bit next time.
Motion on Zig Harbor LLC, 112 Washington Avenue, Hyannis, map 287, parcel 116001, built 1920. Contributing structure within the National Register District of Hyannis Port. Partial demolition. Right side garage bay to be removed completely and rebuilt. Existing second floor to be extended over third bay and construct new dormers on north and south facing elevations. New stairs, railings, and roof system. Window changes. Motion 1. I move that after review and consideration of the public testimony, the application and associated materials, the significant building 112 Washington Avenue, Hyannis, is a preferably preserved significant building.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Nancy. An aye vote will impose an 18-month delay. A nay vote will not impose an 18-month delay. Nancy?
Nay.
Barbara?
Nay.
John?
Nay.
Robert? Nay. Second motion.
If motion 1 fails with a nay vote, I move that in accordance with section 112-3F, the Barnstable Historical Commission determines that the partial demolition of the building located at 112 Washington Avenue, Hyannis, is not detrimental to the historical, cultural, and architectural heritage or resources of the town.
A second on the motion?
Second.
Thank you, John. Do I have to do this? Yeah, roll call, I'm sorry. Nancy?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Robert? Aye. You're all set on both items. Thank you very much for patiently waiting through the process. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna try and remember what's on the back page of my agenda this time, even though I don't have much time for it. That's my own darn
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with you guys at all.
Okay.
No, I mean, you can stick around.
away?
No, but you don't need to sit riveted waiting for him to say it either.
Nothing. But the 1040Bs, of which there are like 10, can we approve those as a batch, or do we have to?
Yes, that's exactly what we're about to do right now.
Okay.
Is that the next thing on the agenda?
Discussion of upcoming historical events open to the public is first. Nancy, do you get anything? It's
No,
usually-
but and we won't talk about it today because
Good.
it's huge, but I really hope the Trazer Museum items that were stored in 200 Main Street in Hyannis, really,
Okay.
hope that is moving, and there's
No,
things
I
there
don't
that are
disagree
getting
with
moldy,
that.
and,
I got a couple of things that I really have to nail today
And
for
I
sure.
have 149, something like that, pictures
Mhm.
of items that I took in 2004, I guess? No, I took them a little, 2009, I'm talking too much. Anyway.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't mean to cut you off because I'm
yeah.
sort of
I'll have an
chatting
update for the
myself,
next
but-
meeting.
Okay, and I can send you my pictures, have I done
I
that?
think you have.
When we had it re-inventoried and everything, she took new pictures.
Oh, I know she took new pictures
So-
too, but it's good to
We
see
did
what,
this.
But I think you have sent your collection previously, and I know
Okay.
you've sent it to me, so
Yes,
at least
good.
two of us have it.
All right, so
But
the
thank
Form
you
Bs.
for that. I share her concern in the same way. Form Bs, I had two thoughts. One is I completely agree with John's suggestion that we do them as a batch, unless there's an objection. I looked through them, and I also have had a little more Form B experience since the last time, and I'm much more inclined to accept manuscript alterations, seeing that they are plentifully scanned and present in Macros, at least in any of the ones that I've looked at recently. And I see no detriment. I do think catching ones where they completely disrespect or disagree with contentions that are stated in the typed part of the form, as we had one of last
Yeah.
time, those are bogus and those have to be revisited. But I don't think that any of the ones that are in the proposal for today fall under the heading of needing to be pushed into the further update or further study category.
probably a lot of them are more accurate than they were when people with good intentions 20, 30 years ago.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm
but-
finding houses that I know their dates are wrong when I'm doing a property.
No, I know. Well, so even a form that's been scanned can still be
Yeah.
updated if there's a problem, we find some new
Thank heavens
information.
we have people.
Could we have a motion to accept the entire, is it 8 of them?
I believe it was 11 altogether.
11 of them, I'm sorry. A couple of them were held over from last time
I'll move that we accept all 11 newly.
to be sent on to Mass Historical Commission. Can I have a second on that?
I second
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Awesome. I have a couple of things that I want to mention. One quickly is a response to correspondence that we received following the 43 INO Ave hearing, which has almost already surfaced again today in a nicer way, thank God. And I want to say, I'm just going to read this quick because I think it's the fastest way to do it. BHC received 2 letters of public comment following the public hearing and decision regarding 43 INO Avenue, Hyannisport. Both letters expressed disappointment that BHC was unable to do more to prevent what a number of residents attending the hearing felt was an inappropriate expansion of this property. MHC has published a document on its website to help the public and historical commissioners better understand the very different functions and capabilities of a National Register district versus a local historic district, and hence the function and limitations of our role as BHC. Notably, an area can be designated as being part of both such districts. My main response to the comments that were made during and following the public hearing for 43 INO Ave, Hyannisport, is that residents generally lack clarity on this distinction. I think not specific to Hyannisport, I just think in broad terms, people don't really understand that. And therefore, were understandably frustrated to find BHC unable to address some of their issues. Within the limitations of its jurisdiction, BHC does its very best to preserve Barnstable's historic buildings, sites, and monuments, but only a local historic district is empowered to conduct the level of fine-grained regulatory review that can more effectively prevent inappropriate alterations. If a joint designation would provide a more satisfactory degree of control within a National Register district, community such as Hyannisport and be adequately supported by the district, I would certainly welcome personally such an initiative. And I have a link here to the website that I refer to at MHC, and I think if that were made more available, maybe as a reference point on our own, that would be very helpful. 2 super fast, 3 fast
We've got
announcements.
these people waiting out there.
Town Councilor Charles Bloom is our now council liaison. We finally have a liaison.
Wow.
We have a 2016 Barnstable High School graduate by the name of Andrew Fisher nominated for a commissioner's role who should be voted on by the council on the 1st of May. And last but not least, by any means, Nancy, you and I received an email from Vice President of the Council, Chris Clark, asking us as a commission and us as individuals to comment upon the local draft local comprehensive plan, and she refers us specifically to the historic preservation components. And I have looked at that myself and was pleased, but would like to add to their proposal for the plan something along the lines of what I just read in my response to Hyannisport. I think the local historic district initiative has merit enough to at least be considered as part of the next plan. Could we have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
We are adjourned.